Today we're walking through how to solve for the velocity and acceleration of a pendulum bob at any point as it swings back and forth. And we'll start with velocity since it's pretty straightforward, and then we'll move on to acceleration, which is typically the part that gives people the most trouble. So to solve for velocity, we're going to turn to the conservation of energy. The idea being that whatever gravitational potential energy the bob starts with because of its height is going to turn into kinetic energy as the mass swings downward. Now I'm going to treat the lowest point of this pendulum swing as though it's a height of 0, and we'll measure all of our heights relative to that reference height. So our pendulum bob over here is going to start with some initial height, meaning there's going to be some initial gravitational potential energy, or MGH. Now the pendulum bob isn't moving when we first let it go, so it has no kinetic energy. But as it swings downward, it's going to gain some kinetic energy. That's 1/2 mv squared for kinetic energy. And it's also going to have some final potential energy. So we're going to say that's MGH final. This little f is for final. Now the first thing you'll notice here is that there's an m in each one of these terms. That is to say that the mass of this pendulum bob is going to cancel out, or really, it doesn't matter. Now we're trying to solve for the velocity of this pendulum bob at any point, so we're going to rearrange this for v. And we come up with this equation for the velocity as a function of the height of the pendulum bob at its initial and final positions, wherever those may be. The catch is, typically when dealing with a pendulum, you won't be given these initial and final heights. What instead you're given is the amplitude as an angle, or really a distance from equilibrium. So what we need to do is relate this angle to the height in our equation here. Now if you look at this pendulum at its lowest point, it's some distance L, that is the length of the string, beneath this pivot point up here. And when the pendulum is pulled backward, the vertical height of the pendulum bob is going to be some height L cosine theta, where theta is this angle right in here between the vertical axis and the string itself. Now remember, we're trying to relate this angle to the height of the pendulum bob. And so if the distance from the pivot to this lowest point is L, but the distance from the pivot to this pendulum bob when it's pulled back some angle theta is going to be L cosine theta, that means the actual height of the pendulum bob is given by L minus L cosine theta. So what we can do is take this equation and substitute it in over here. And that's going to give us an expression for the velocity of the pendulum at any position as a function of its initial and final angles. Now, more often than not, you're going to be asked to solve for the velocity of this pendulum as it reaches its lowest point. Now, at its lowest point, the position, or the angular position of the pendulum, is going to be 0 degrees. And so this whole equation that we have is going to reduce down to this, an expression for the maximum velocity, that is the velocity of the pendulum at its lowest point. So let's put some numbers to this and I'll show you how these equations work. Let's say we pull our pendulum back 30 degrees from vertical and we make our pendulum 3 meters long. Now if we let the pendulum swing down to an angle of 15 degrees, going over to our expression over here, we'd plug in 9.8 for g, because that's the acceleration due to gravity on Earth. L, the length of the pendulum, is 3 meters. And then we'd plug in 30 degrees as our initial angle and 15 degrees as our final. And as a result, we'd find that our pendulum, when it reaches this point right here, 15 degrees away from equilibrium, is traveling at 2.42 meters per second. Now, if we wanted to solve for the velocity of the pendulum, if it started here at an angle of 30 degrees and swung down to a position of vertical, plugging in those numbers, we'd find the pendulum was moving at a maximum velocity of 2.8 meters per second. Now, moving on to acceleration, this is where we have to be careful for a couple of reasons. First, as tempting as it may be, you can't make the jump from velocity to acceleration using the kinematic equations. So the acceleration of our pendulum isn't constant here, so the kinematics won't work. So we have to back up to the reason a pendulum bob accelerates in the first place, that is, forces. See, looking at the free body diagram of the pendulum bob, there are two forces here. First, there's gravity acting straight down on the pendulum. And then there's the tension in the string, which is acting along the string. And these two forces produce two more or less independent accelerations for this pendulum. See, gravity causes the pendulum to accelerate tangentially, or along this arc, just the same as gravity would cause a block on a hill to accelerate downhill. Tension, on the other hand, acts centripetally, causing the pendulum to move in a circular path as it descends. So you have to be careful here, because there's two accelerations happening simultaneously. And it's important when dealing with pendulums that you know what it is you're trying to solve for. So first, let's walk through how to solve for the tangential acceleration by gravity as this pendulum swings downward. Looking at the free body diagram, gravity has a component in the direction of motion along this arc. Like I said, it's really no different than a block on a hill. If you look at the right triangle trig, gravity is acting straight down. But if you treat this as though it's a right triangle, you'll see this gravity has a component parallel or tangent to this arc. Now, realize this angle theta that the pendulum has been pulled back is the same as this angle down here. Meaning if this force by gravity on the pendulum bob is mg, then the force causing the pendulum to accelerate is going to be mg sine theta. Because that component is really the opposite side of this right triangle. Now, it's that component of gravity that's causing the pendulum bob to accelerate. So we're going to plug that component into Newton's second law. And you'll see, if this force, mg sine theta, is causing this mass, we'll just call that m, to accelerate, we have a net force causing a mass to accelerate. Now again, you'll see, just like with velocity, the masses cancel out. And we're left with the tangential acceleration of this pendulum bob at any point is given by the equation g sine theta, where theta is the angle of the pendulum. And it's worth noting here, the length of the pendulum doesn't actually matter. It's only the angle between vertical and the position of the pendulum. So that's the tangential acceleration of this pendulum. But like I said, there's two different accelerations here, one because of gravity and the other due to the tension in the string. Now the string, because it can't get shorter or longer, is going to constrain or force the pendulum to move in an arc or a circle. So really what the tension in the string is doing is causing the pendulum to go in a circle or accelerate centripetally. Now centripetal acceleration is given by the equation v squared over r, where v is the velocity of the object going in a circle, in this case the pendulum bob, and r is the radius of the circle which the object is moving in. In this case, that radius is the length of our string. Now if we're trying to solve for the centripetal acceleration at any given point, what we need to know is the velocity of that pendulum bob at any point. But remember, we already worked out the velocity of this pendulum at any point. So if you want to know the centripetal acceleration, all we need to do is just plug in that velocity equation for v here, and now you get an expression for the centripetal acceleration of our pendulum bob at any point. So now that we have expressions for both the tangential and centripetal accelerations of our pendulum bob, you'd think would be all done here. But the issue that comes up in physics quite often is sometimes you'll be asked to solve for the tangential acceleration or the centripetal acceleration, but sometimes you're asked for the total acceleration of the pendulum bob, the total being the combination of these two accelerations. Now, because these two accelerations are at right angles to each other, what we're going to do is combine these two acceleration vectors using the Pythagorean theorem. You see, the centripetal acceleration is always along the string, and the tangential acceleration due to gravity is always tangent to this arc, or parallel to the direction which the bob is traveling. So to get the total acceleration, we're just going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So going back to putting values in this problem here, taking our 3-meter long pendulum and pulling it back 30 degrees. Working out the numbers, you'll see at 30 degrees, the tangential acceleration is 4.9 meters per second squared. But there is no centripetal acceleration yet because there is no velocity on this pendulum bob. By the time the pendulum swung down to 15 degrees, the tangential accelerations decreased to 2.53 meters per second squared, and the centripetal acceleration, because it's moving, now has an acceleration of 1.95 meters per second squared. Combining both the tangential and centripetal accelerations using the Pythagorean theorem, we can find at this position right here of 15 degrees, the pendulum is experiencing a total acceleration of 3.19 meters per second squared. Now, by the time the pendulum gets to this equilibrium position, or an angle of 0 degrees, there's no longer any tangential acceleration, and the centripetal acceleration is 2.61 meters per second squared. So, the key idea when solving for the acceleration of a pendulum is to understand what acceleration it is that you're actually trying to solve for. So, I hope you found this useful. And on that note, that's all for now.